IGN posted their final preview for Redfall, part of their IGN First thing. They did a good job. I liked what IGN did. They showed a lot of aspects of the game, and quite frankly, they showed more of the game than Bethesda has. So at this point, with this final preview, I get a bigger glimpse of what it all looks like together. Of course, it is IGN, so they do a lot of cut shots. I'm not a fan of that kind of thing when it comes to showing off a game for the first time. I like good, long sequences. We haven't really seen a good, long sequence in Redfall. I blame that on Bethesda and Arcane. You gotta have that. We gotta be able to see the game as it is. That is the kind of gameplay that I want to see. When Forspoken, I always come back to Forspoken. Early February, game hasn't come out yet. Previews are out there. And all the shots they're showing, combat's cut up, sequences are cut up. Why? Because they're scared to show you the stuff in between, which means they're not confident in it. And when I see this, look, Gaming Trend would do it, IGN would do it, GameSpot would do it, all publications, not the publisher and developer, would have cut up the shot. So this isn't IGN's fault. However, if I were Bethesda, I were Arcane, and I'm confident in the game that I am going to show as much gameplay in a nice long sequence as possible so you, buyer, can make a good decision. Or you know what, maybe you're not a buyer, you're just going to play it on Game Pass, so you can make the decision if you want to use up your hard drive space on it to play the game. So IGN did a great job. I'm fine with it. But after watching it, it doesn't change the narrative around Redfall at this point. It is what it is. This is, go look at the last preview for the IGN First. What about that do you see goes, oh, that's what this game, oh, I get it now. No, that's not what this is. Redfall looks like a game that's going to be not bad, but it doesn't look like it's going to be great either. Here's my theory on the poor damage control by Bethesda and Arcane, because Redfall at this point, I would say, is probably viewed more negatively than positive. Not so much because of the gameplay. I have a more negative outlook on it because of what I've seen from the gameplay. Other people have a more negative outlook because of the whole 30 frames per second. Only the person who is the host of the game can have progress, that sort of stuff. So Bethesda and IGN make a deal to do IGN First. That's kind of how this thing works. I'm not sure who approached who first, but we know, okay, they made a deal. So Bethesda is going to show a bulk of their stuff through IGN. All right, that's the deal. For Bethesda, that's great because they know IGN's going to have a bunch of eyeballs. But here's the thing, too, when it comes to previews, and all outlets do this. When we preview games, we're generally not looking to trash the game because we understand, number one, we haven't worked on the game. Number two, we haven't seen the behind the scenes stuff. So we understand what we're playing probably isn't the final product. It might be close. It might be very close. The bones might be there, but it's not the final thing. So it's not about being unethical or anything like that. It's about being fair. We want to be fair to it. And so that's what the review is for. That's why it's important to read the reviews or watch the reviews, whoever your favorite person is or outlet. That's where we give the real criticism. The preview is not really the place for that. Bethesda and Arcane know this. So I'm not saying they were thinking about this consciously at first, but I'm sure they thought of, Redfall, not looking like the greatest thing Arcane has done. Let's do this IGN first. Let's make a deal with IGN. They can do the coverage, and they are mostly going to be positive with it. And so it shows the good side of Redfall. And we don't really see the other stuff until, the review comes out. So that's where I'm thinking this is all gone with Redfall and the coverage and why they're really doing a poor job of damage control, because they've left it into the hands of IGN instead of going out there and getting in front of it and showing us things that truly demonstrate what Redfall really is. And there's a piece of me that believes they're not confident in Redfall. I don't know if that's, maybe Arcane is confident in Redfall. Maybe Bethesda isn't. I don't know. But the way this is going, I don't see confidence. So I'm not going to say Redfall is going to be awful. I don't think it will be awful. I don't believe that one bit. I don't think it will be awful, but I don't think it will be great. The biggest reason for me, some of y'all are like 30 frames per second, some of y'all host progression stuff. To me, it's the combat. Watch the videos. Pay specific attention to the combat. Look at the way the enemies move around. Look how much they stand in place. Does that look like fun? It looks like target practice. That's my biggest deal. We're talking about a game that has looter shooter elements, and this is what you have to give? No. You can't just have target practice. Destiny isn't that easy. The Division isn't that easy. Borderlands isn't that easy. Far Cry isn't that easy. And the biggest games, Borderlands, Far Cry, like these are the games Arcane and Bethesda have referenced for Redfall. And both of those do not have uninteresting combat scenarios. But when I look at Redfall, I've played enough of these, thousands of hours of these games we would consider looter shooters. This does not look very good. It doesn't look like it's going to be very interesting. Not to mention, Ryan McCaffrey in the IGN First preview said, difficulty, they are working on it. Which tells me, they ain't even got that tuned yet. They're going to be listening to the Redfall community to see how we feel about the difficulty. Which that just tells me they have an idea of where they want it, but they're not confident in it. So it's entirely possible this is a game that just doesn't show well. It might be when we start playing it, it actually feels a lot better. When we start playing it, it actually works a lot better. Maybe it's more difficult than it looks. Maybe the vampires are more interesting to shoot than it looks. But as far as what we have seen, I'm not convinced. And that's all we can go off of right now, is what we've seen. It's hard to do something new well on your first try. It's very difficult. Jedi Fallen Order, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Great Metroid style game. But the traversal is similar pretty much the whole game. You're always climbing on something. You're crossing over a tightrope ledge. But if you look at the second try, Jedi Survivor looks much better. Why? There's just more to work with in comparison to what they did with Fallen Order. That was Respawn's first attempt at the game. Their second attempt looks great. So here's Arcane. Looters are not Arcane's bag. Dishonored type of thing. That is their bag. Stealth is their bag. Not a lot of stealth in this game. A whole lot of action. A lot of people weren't convinced about Deathloop. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it for the little bit that I've played of it. But not their bag. And so here they are. Redfall, first attempt at a looter shooter. Might not hit. But if they tried it again, they could learn and improve. But this is their first attempt. So it looks like it's got the right ingredients. I just don't know if they got the right execution for it. And that could be for a variety of reasons. It could be engine. It could be design. A whole bunch of stuff. We won't really be able to pick it apart until it's out. But based on what we're seeing, looks like it's got the right ingredients. Not sure about the execution. So I want to believe this will be better when we play it. I want Redfall to be good. I want all games to be good, but at the end of the day, you can only go off of what we play. And in this case, we can only go off of what we see. So I'm hoping Redfall plays better than it looks, but there are a lot of things it has to overcome. 30 frames per second. A lot of you are hung up about that. I don't care about the 30 frames per second. Maybe some of you only grew up in an era where you played first-person shooters at 60 frames per second. Yes, I prefer my shooters to be at 60 frames per second or higher. I play Overwatch out on 44. I play Halo at 60. All the first-person shooters that I do play, I play at 60 if possible. But I'm also not miffed at the idea of playing this at 30 frames per second. I'm not so spoiled about it. I grew up on games that were 30 frames per second first. So it's whatever. Co-op, that's going to be interesting. I don't know if there's co-op and matchmaking in co-op. If there is, great. If there's not, But even still, even if there was matchmaking, only the host can progress. So then the game decides who's the host if there's matchmaking, right? So if you're not the host, I mean, the game better tell you if you're not the host, but you're going to get a bunch of people who are dropping because they're not the host. Or, at the very least, there's going to be people who are willing to not be the host and just play the game with other people. That's fine. I'd be willing to do that. I can make progress on my own time. But it is still annoying that only the host makes progression. I don't know of any other game that does that. It feels very outdated. And then you have the bad looking combat. That's going to be something that they have to overcome too. But we can't figure that out until we play it. So maybe this will be like Sonic Frontiers. Showed horribly when IGN first showed it on their IGN First. Terrible footage Sega gave them. But it turned out better than what we thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be abysmal. It wasn't abysmal. So it was better than what we thought it was going to be. Wasn't great, but it was better. I expect Redfall will be better than Sonic Frontiers, okay? I don't think Redfall will be bad. I just don't think it will be great. What's your expectations at this point about Redfall? Leave your thoughts in the comments. You know how this works. This is YouTube. Tap whatever thumb you like and subscribe for more conversations on the latest in video games and video game news. I'll talk to you later.